The Bite Me podcast is coming right up, and it is brought to you every week right here on YouTube by Freedom Boats. It is the best shallow running boat on the water, and there is a model perfect for you. The Chiquita 14, the Eagle 16, the Patriot 18, the Commander 21, the beautiful Warrior like I have 23, or the big boy that runs so shallow, the General 26. Chet Moore and Pooty can customize it however you'd like, and there's a dealer near you, whether it's the Boatyard in Kemah or dealerships in San Antonio, Beaumont, Corpus Christi, Port O'Connor, Houston, and Aransas Pass. Freedom Boats or freedomboatsusa.com. Welcome into the Bite Me podcast. It is happening. It is lively, except Captain Caleb McCumber's looking a little stiff in the old neck. We'll get to that.
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. Not in a good way at all. Going to be lively. Sometimes when you put together a rundown, as I do every week, some things just come up organically. And our first topic is going to be very organic as well. Captain Caleb, as I mentioned, is in front of me. So is Captain Dean Thomas, looking spry and healthy. And Captain Scott looks like he's been taking some pictures out at the ranch. But let's get started, man. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. This week was busy. Did y'all notice that? I mean, there were dozens and dozens of new members. So clearly the podcast footprint is expanding. And we're getting a lot more listeners every week. So I do like to remind you every once in a while, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Any platform will do, but I highly recommend Podbean because that's where we host it. And certainly we can get, you can get every single podcast we've ever done going back many years now. 350 episodes last week. I didn't even notice it until after I got the notice when I edited and posted it. They said, congratulations on 350 episodes. That's nearly 7 years. So these guys have got it going, and there's always something new and something lively to talk about, including what we're about to get into. Last thing, Facebook group page. I was just mentioning that. We're getting a lot of new members on there. Don't forget to subscribe. Just search Bite Me Podcast on Facebook, and you should be able to join, pushing 11,000 members there. So that's cool. All right, let's get started. So here I was, sent out the link for this podcast. Put it on YouTube so you can watch it live if you want to here every Tuesday at 3:30, and then I post it about 6 p.m. on all the platforms. Sent out the pretty good, if I do say so myself, good topics anyway for the podcast. But then, in the old group text, the old Bite Me crew, as I have named it, on the old group text, got a little message, and I thought that sounds like a topic in and of itself. So let's start right there, and let's start with Caleb McCumber, Captain Caleb. Because it's a really good question. And let me just lay it out this way, Caleb, before you explain it a little more in detail. I also do the Bite Meat podcast, which is about barbecue. And one time I had, it was a really famous pitmaster. You may know the name, Aaron Franklin, big time pitmaster. I had him on there. And we were talking about all these people that post stuff on YouTube and Facebook and all that. And he said the exact same thing. He said, you got to be careful. A lot of people just want hits and clicks and likes and all that stuff. But he said I was watching somebody cook, I think it was beef ribs. And I watched the YouTube and I'm like, that's not how you do beef ribs. That's a good way to ruin beef ribs. And so I thought of that when you brought up something, and I'll just put it this way, and I'm just pulling this out of thin air. Something you read that said, be careful listening to the wrong source of information. What were you talking about there, buddy?
There's particular creators out there, and the other guys can do whatever they want to do, but I try to stay as professional as I can. And
of course, that's what I always think about.
I'm gonna tell you, before I even start rambling, I'm gonna tell you, I hurt so bad right now, I'm nauseous in my head, kind of spinning. But there's particular folks out there that are looking to peddle their information. Mm-hmm. And their information may be good. It may not be good. I couldn't care less if it's good or it's not. Bite Me guys, anybody I associate myself with on YouTube, Angler you guys, we come out and we say things like, this is what we're seeing, this is what we're doing, this is our opinion on it. Mm-hmm. If you have to start your conversation with, let me tell you why everybody else isn't as good as me, let me justify why you should listen to me, there's a problem there. That is somebody projecting insecurities and shortcomings. That is somebody that is clued in and tiered into all the other people that are in the industry.
Yeah.
And going off of what they said, but let me tell y'all why I'm the one saying it because the other people aren't as good as me. Anybody that has to lead into a topic with disparaging someone else needs to really look at their inner self, pull your shit together, man, and deliver some stuff that is pertinent to the situation. When you walk into a bar, if there's two dudes standing in there and one of them says, I'm a badass, don't mess with me, and the other one's real quiet, and I have to fight one of them, I'm fighting the one that says he's the badass. It's that simple. And the thing is this particular character is a bit of an ankle biter. People like this, I forget they exist until they and the thing is, I don't even pay attention to them. I get screenshot and sent to them. They block everybody that they're talking about so that nobody sees it and doesn't understand the people that are actually connected in the fishing world are connected in the fishing world. And if you say something, it's going to take about 30 seconds for it to get sent to our group, right? I try to forget they exist until they tick, 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 here they come. If they would shut the hell up, mind their own business, and peddle their own wares, we'd all just get along. I watch them for years. There's YouTube channels that aren't particularly accurate, but you know what, man? Do your thing. Just don't try to, and maybe he is, maybe he ain't talking about us, but don't insinuate your stuff in there. Don't, every one of your posts, I went fishing with this guide, and we went out and got him. I'm a badass. I fish with this guide and that guide. But let me tell you why you shouldn't listen to actual guides. You show up in these group chats and say dumb shit like, well, shrimp only spawn once a year. Bullshit. Me and Scott are showing you half-inch shrimp in July. Don't tell me they only spawn in the fall. They only spawn in the spring. Yeah, I could keep going.
Oh, nobody's stopping you.
Jeez, bro, Pete, man.
Ain't nobody here stopping you.
And when you owe people that are a big part of why you have a product 15 years worth of money, and that dude hasn't sent you a demand letter yet, you should probably shut the hell up and just peddle your wares, dude. Because I'll say this, and then I'll move on to the next guys. Because as much as particular folks want to act like that they're above it, they listen. They're here. So I'll say this. If I see a post that irritates me in any way, if I see a comment that irritates me in any way, I do have some really fun stuff to put on the internet that will just be absolutely tickling, that I've been sitting on for a couple of years out of professional courtesy to let somebody else make a living. But particular people haven't been checked and are getting bolder and bolder. And right now I got some severe neck pain and I'm not dealing with your shit. So if I see one thing, if I get screenshotted one thing, the internet is going to melt down. And if you're wondering what it is, I don't have to sign an NDA for shit. It's going out.
I've seen it. It's good.
Man, I said I was going to be professional, and this is as professional as I can be.
Well, here's the thing, just
I'm
real
like
quick.
A lion with a thorn in his paw right now, John.
Yeah, that's right.
Pull my thorn out.
Here's the thing that, and I'm always been an advocate. Hell, I've told you guys about this podcast. Why we do it. I've always been an advocate of the old rising tide lifts all boats. I've got competition in my regular day job on the radio that I just love those dudes, they've got some connections that make them money, and I got some that make mine, and we're all happy. You guys, I've told you I said it, we're going on 7 years. You guys, I want you guys to get booked. I want you guys to make money. I make money as best I can, with the podcast. It raises all boats. All right. Here's the last thing, and then I'll get back to you, Caleb. I think the gist of this is actually a good topic. Be careful listening to the wrong person. I knew Scott, and I knew of him, and I followed him and all that when we started this podcast. But you guys don't know this. Y'all are some of my best friends now for years, but I vetted you guys. Like I like just personally vetted. Obviously I took Scott's word, but like what else? What are these guys about? What do they do? How long they've been doing it, etc. these are professional dudes that know what they're talking about, not just catching fish and all that. So I feel like anybody who is wanting to build their brand on the internet, go for it. But to go down that road, Caleb,
it's like Brock. You're better off to just keep your damn mouth shut.
mm-hmm.
Peddle your wares and move on. All right. If I've got a YouTube channel and Scott has a YouTube channel and Dean has a YouTube channel and they're all three are good, people are going to watch all three of them. There's no reason for me to say,
yes,
well, Scott sucks, so you better follow me. That's stupid. That is peon brained dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you want to go on social media and say things like, well, they may not be us. It may not be. So I'm taking up for whoever the hell they is. If they salt strong, I'm taking up for they. I don't know who they is. Don't care who they is. But when you say stuff like, well, they said that the tide is high in the fall and we need to lose some water because it's got to be cold and shallow to catch big trout. And then they said, well, we need water in the spring. The water's not high enough. You know what that tells me? That tells me you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And you catch some big fish because guess what? The tide came up, the trout moved up, they're laying in the grass, they're enjoying the springtime stuff. A lot of days are talking about we want the tide to come back up so we can get in the marshes and go back and go fishing. Go chase some redfish like I did all day yesterday. The reason I can't move right now. It was great. Loved it. In the fall, we want the tide to come out. You know why we want the tide to come out, John? To pull all the damn bait out with it so the fish just lose their mind and eat. That's great. Love it. In the spring, you know why I want the tide to come up? To flood the flats so the bait goes up on the flats and the fish come up and eat it. But whenever you hire guides and regurgitate their stuff and don't completely understand it and don't actually make a living out there, and you want to talk about, we're going to find out who's who, if you look for discrepancies and this and that, read a resume. That's what a resume is for. See this wall behind me covered in checks from top tier tournaments? That's a resume. You see 10 years of guiding. You see a lot of those years, 280 days in the water with repeat customers. That's a resume. My resume ain't, I went with guides and learned some stuff to tell you.
Yeah. Real quick, everybody listen to this. That was Caleb putting it on the table. That was Caleb putting it on the table. All right. I know we have thoughts and comments. I'll start with Scott because he was laughing the hardest.
Y'all are getting the tame part.
Yeah.
I was in a photo blind this morning listening to the real rant. Along with the screenshots.
Well, I got bigger stuff to worry about than these little chihuahuas.
Well, don't set the hook on the piggy perch, man.
Y'all quit sending me screenshots. I'd rather not know.
I had nothing to do with it. All right, but what about Scott? What about the actual? You do have to be careful, and the whole concept of what people, use stink to make themselves look better.
Yeah, I don't ever believe in it. I don't do it. I mean, it's just go off of what you do. What do you do best? I don't go out there and claim that I'm a big trout specialist. I can go catch big trout sometimes, but my thing's redfish. My thing's, I'm still learning on tarpon. I'll fully admit it. Everybody's working on something, and I'm not going to go out there and tell you I'm the best at this, the best at that, and all. Leave that to Brock's, and just do what you do, and people enjoy it. You told me from the very beginning of this that I was kind of worried about telling people how I do things, or I might be wrong in some people's eyes, but you told me right from the start you don't know what you know.
Yeah.
And just say say how you see it and say how you feel it and let chips fall.
Yeah.
And I think we've given some pretty damn good advice on here over the years.
I know we have.
If there's anything, I mean, I'll tell a quick thing, because this is the lesson for kids like no other. And it took me till I was 37 years old, 35 years old to figure out this old man told me. Whenever I was 17, 18, 19 years old, I was one of the top guys in the state roping. And I worked on this horse ranch, and my job was to train roping horses, but I would leave for weeks at a time and go rodeos and stuff and come back. But on the ranch was these bunch of just cowboy types that lived there. And as weird as it sounds, they kind of looked up to me because I was out, living the dream and whatever. And I would come back to the ranch and I would tell them, well, I won second here and first here and fifth here, and I didn't win anything there, but it wasn't my fault. And the guy that owned the ranch, he told me, he said, you realize you're a dick, right? I was like, what do you mean? I said, they asked me, I told them. He said, yeah, but if you come back, all that is bragging. And what they're going to do is find reasons to talk about why you aren't as good as you say you are.
Right.
But if you just shut the hell up and do your thing, they don't have anything to say except, hey, I'm going to watch what he's doing. And I was 18, 19 at that time, and I was in my 30s before I figured out really what he was saying. And I try to pass that on to all the kids that play baseball for me and all that stuff. If you will just shut up and do your thing, people that like what you're doing and follow what you do are going to just come with you and enjoy the ride.
All right, Dean, let's dig into this from your perspective. And you have, I've told you the same thing that I told Scott early on. I don't think people realize, your resume, you forgot more than people know. It's not about us and tooting our horn and all that. It's about letting it speak for itself, but also this whole Caleb, sort of screenshot that we got and people who trying to pretend to be something they're not.
Well, it's all very much a thought-provoking conversation. It went off in so many directions there. I was trying to pinpoint one to narrow down. But a lot of the stuff that Caleb's talking about where, I know it was directed at our recent conversations because it was kind of like addressing what we were talking about, but it was taking things out of context and applying them to what he was saying, that we were like contradicting ourselves. But when you take one little sentence out of a whole conversation and you don't apply the rest of the conversation to it, you're not. And and you say, well, these guys said that this is what is good, and then they said it was bad next week. But there's so much more to that story of why the tide is where it is at this time of year, why it works now, how that connects to the wind on the tide that day. So many things that go into it. And here's another thing. No matter how many times you go out there and how smart you think you are, you're going to learn something every day. It's one of the very most, interesting things about what we do. I go out the gate every single day thinking I'm the most amazing fisherman that ever graced a flat skiff,
and then what happens?
Can be totally humbled within 10 minutes of that day. So if you can take that and or if you just Caleb couldn't have said it better. When you walk up to the mic and you say, I'm doing this better than anybody else, and what they're doing is wrong. And here's another thing that I was listening to that. There are thousands, hundreds, there's plenty of people that are going to sit and explain how to catch fish, how to analyze the situation, how to analyze what you're dealing with. There are tons of that data out there. It's hard to say that anybody is better. We're kind of telling the same story. I mean, whether it was written in magazine articles 30 years ago, before there was internet, before there was podcasts, before there were all of these other media outlets, the story has been told. The lessons have been taught on how to catch these fish, how to pursue them, how to work with those conditions. And you can tell that story. And there's the fact that there's an audience repeatedly that keeps coming at us, with all these outlets, there's still people pursuing that data, that information. And for one person to say that they know it better than the next, it's ludicrous, ridiculous. And that is the little small man syndrome, because this dude is pretty short in the first place. He's a little dude. And I think he's projecting his inadequacies on other people through his. But I mean, nobody could say, you're going to go out there, you're going to work hard, and that's another thing. Let your personal reputation stand for itself. Let your hard work, which is basically your resume, stand for itself. You can't go out and hire other guides and then go and repeat what you learned as if it is now mine. That is, I mean, your credibility,
at least
your
when you
credibility went.
give them credit. Say, I caught this fish with Dean Thomas.
Well, and so we've seen this. I mean, the dude posts pictures of him literally fishing with other guides. I mean, and then he comes back 2 weeks later with, oh, this is the story. Now it's my story. You know, I took what I did 2 weeks ago, and now I have created it into my life, my resume, my story, and then take what other people said out of context and say, well, they're wrong because this is what I now know. You're an idiot. You're a dumbass.
Well, my thing, Scott, and I think that's why I wanted to have more than one voice ultimately after we got started on this podcast. You can cull information from so many different sources, and I like the fact that we have 3 different areas of the coast represented here, three different styles, a couple of different generations at least, and because I don't know if anybody would believe everything, all due respect, you say. Because they, you know, Dean might say something, you know, you've learned something from Dean during the course of the last few years. You've learned something from Caleb, I'm sure, and vice versa and all that. So it's about a matter of culling all that information, you know?
Dean and I disagree all the time on, I mean, Dean wants a high tide. I want a low tide, you know, because I've got a pole and skiff and I want to go back there in the back and get away from everybody. Dean's got to fish big open grass flats and he wants to drift. That's why we talk about the tides. That's why we talk about where the water is and how high the water is. It's because of how we like to fish and what we're trying to do. It has nothing. Some days it has something to do with whether or not the fish will eat. Other days it's how we want to fish. It's how I prefer to fish. I can fish a high tide. I just don't like to.
Yeah.
You know, when the water's super high, my fish scatter out. When it's lower, they're more concentrated. They're easier for me to find. When the tide falls out on Dean, they fall off the flats, and they're not on those grass flats. When the tide comes up, he can get his boat in there and he can drift them. Everything's great. It's how you fish and what you're doing.
Yeah, me and Scott argue, and it'll never die about barometers.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm stupid. I think he's stupid. But you know what? We still go figure out how to catch fish. I mean, oh, dude wants to talk about learn how to fish in conditions. I got checks on my wall from fishing during tropical storms, dog.
you do. I can see them.
Yeah, it was the one that took out Brownsville, Ira, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't go on the internet and tell everybody they suck because they're not me.
You know why he wants to fish in low tide? Because he's not tall enough to fish in high tide.
Oh my gosh.
God dang it, Dean. We're trying to take the high road. Get it?
we usually do. Yes, I get it.
Dean took the short road.
One more thing to make it to bring it more to to the topic at hand. You do. I don't expect anyone to ever say, well, the guys on the Bite Me podcast, that's the Bible. I'm glad a lot of people do. I'm glad we got thousands of people every week that listen to us. But you know what I look at a lot? Angler U. You know why? You know, when Caleb, approached us about I'm going to start this thing, I was like, please do it, and I'll help you any way I can. Because you got to have, a variation of opinion. I'm not sitting here taking stuff from Angler U, and I don't even use your topics.
I use yours.
I know you do.
I printed out literally every rundown we've ever had for video ideas. I'm gonna be honest about that.
I know you do, but you can. You're
I didn't even give you credit, but I do.
That's all right. I'll do the legwork for you. Just keep me on Angler U, and I'm happy.
All right.
All right, so let's go to another pretty hot topic here, man. I told you there's going to be a lively show. We're 24 minutes in. So
yeah, it's almost over.
I didn't even expect you were going to open with me on that topic. I had nothing planned.
Yeah.
I just dropped in to see what happened. And
you got to riff sometimes, man. You got to riff. You got to riff sometimes. So this is kind of an offshoot of several different things that I've come across. Obviously, there were 3 killed in a boat crash during an MLF event on Smith Lake, and Scott sent us that. But before we get into the actual topic, and the topic is, has the need for speed on the water gone too far? And I think that's something that we can really dig our teeth into. Dean, we got to get your story, man. I mean, you just sent us the bare bones of what you saw when it came to speed in the water.
Yeah, that was the jet ski incident that and I don't know why these things keep happening right in front of me. I've just weird kind of luck. So we were going out. Actually, our Chamber of Commerce records a podcast, a weekly thing. So they wanted to go out in the boat. I had these guys on the boat with me. We were going out to do it. We're headed
my
out
topics.
the channel for
Did you give them my topics?
Yeah. We used 3 weeks ago topics and nobody knew the difference.
Let's talk about the most important thing between you and that potential fish of a lifetime: lines and leaders. Seagar, truly the best. They've been doing it at the highest level since 1971. People always ask, what do you throw? I throw Seagar. The double structure fluorocarbon is virtually invisible in the water and has exceptional strength and castability. And if you love and trust Seagar Fluoro, you're going to love the braid. Man, bait casters, spinning reels, inshore, offshore, it's the absolute best and the only braid I throw. It's Seagar, the best quality, the most trusted name in the game. Get to a great retailer near you like Fishing Tackle Unlimited or Anglers Anonymous. Visit Seagar.com. That's Seagar. Seagar, always the best.
But it was the morning we had this big storm, hailstorm came through, and the wind was still blowing 25, probably gusting to 30 miles an hour. We're going down the channel. For those of us that know our area, we're going towards Port Aransas. I was going out to the lighthouse around the corner, Lydia Ann Channel. It started raining, so I stopped the boat, pulling out rain jackets for everybody. And while we're sitting there, we're watching these 4 jet skis in the channel just zipping around, running circles, jumping wakes, just crazy. The one lady that was on the boat with me, she even made the comment about, man, they're driving crazy. As I was pulling out the jackets, bam, we hear this giant crash, and she turns around and says, oh, they crashed into each other. And we look over there, the jet skis are kind of floating away, people were in the water. We pull, and we were probably, man, no more than 300 yards away from them. I mean, we were pretty close. So we pull up there. There's a kid, and I believe the age limit is 16 years old that you have to be to operate one of those things, and you have to have boater education. You have to have your certificate to do that. And so as we pull up, the one kid that was getting picked up onto the other jet ski was holding his leg, and he was injured. And the dad, looked the older dude, he was in the water floating conscious. He was just totally in shock, though. I mean, he's holding his life jacket like on his neck, keeping his head above water, still freaking out pretty bad. And we pull up, is everybody okay? And then the one lady there that was kind of like, she was taking charge of the situation. I didn't understand it at first. She was picking that kid up, and she's like, yeah, we're okay. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you guys are a long ass way from okay. The jet skis were floating away. The dude was in the water. So they pick up the injured one, get him on that one. The other guy, he's kind of just floating. He drifts up close enough to the other one, the other jet ski. So there's 3 of them holding on to one. The other kid that was on that one, he was just, I mean, he couldn't even speak. He was freaking out. He was young. So I told him, pull over to the bank, go park, just to get him out of the situation. I grabbed one of the jet skis, one of the guys that was with me. I pull up alongside it, drag it to the bank, tell the girl that's driving that other one, I was like, pull up over here on the side. Let's get everybody out of deep water. So we pull up over there, and she starts gathering stuff like she was ready to get out of there. And I kept telling her, I was like, there's a little beachy area right up here in front of us. And then she wants to get all snarky with me. I know where I'm at. I'm on this water every day. I know and then she tells me I'm an instructor. And I was like, huh, okay. So then I got the idea that this was like a little guided tour of what she had these people out there. And I asked her, I said, where did you launch? I was trying to figure out, how do we get you back to where you came from? She's like, we came from the boat ramp. I'm like, what boat ramp? And she told me Virginia's over in Port Aransas. So they have 2 jet skis that are smashed. One had completely missing one side of it. The one that they had 3 people on was starting to sink as they're headed to the bank. It started listing over to the side real bad. So they get to the bank, get those people off. She starts leashing the broken ones to one of the jet skis that was still working. And then she keeps telling me that we're going to make it. She's like, we're going to make it to the boat ramp. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, she was going to cross the Aransas, the Corpus Christi Channel, past the tugboats in 25, 30 mile an hour wind. Tankers go through that channel, and it was rough. I went around there in my boat and I was hugging the shoreline, and it really was pushing the limits even in my boat to get there. So through all that situation, as she's trying to get away, we're on the phone. We call 911. EMS is on their way out there. EMS catches up with us. Ambulance is on the bank. And then the Aransas Pass Police Department has a rescue boat. It hangs in a lift at Com Brown Harbor. And they were on the scene pretty quick. I mean, it was less than 15 minutes. Those dudes rolled up. So I'm sitting there trying to give this instructor who is on the water every day and knows what she's doing some advice, you know, to not turn a bad situation into a way worse situation by trying to drag 2 sinking jet skis. Even whenever she told me as we were going there, I was like, you're not going to be able to cross that channel dragging 2 sinking skis. And she even had a plan. She's like, I'll just cut them loose if I get in trouble. I was like, okay, that don't make any sense either.
Yeah.
But through all this, I was just shadowing them. She got them hooked up. They were trying to get away. And then after the fact, during all this, as it was taking place, really didn't think about it at the time, but she knew she was in trouble. She knew she had done wrong. She knew that if the authorities got involved, it was going to turn into, you know, a bad reflection on her instructor license, I guess. But so we kind of just shadowed them as they were putting down the channel. The boat rolls up. The authorities get there. Once they took charge, I backed off, let them handle their business. So I watched the kid with the hurt leg. He walked to the ambulance. He was limping a little bit, but I mean, I don't think it was broken. May have been cracked. I mean, his leg was in pretty bad shape. And the dad, the older guy that was with him, I don't think he was injured. He was just in a state of shock. And he walked to the ambulance also. Then we went and did what we were doing. We were out on the water for about an hour. And as we were coming back, there were 3 game wardens on the scene with the trailer, and they were actually collecting the evidence. They took all the people off. They had the broken jet skis that they were loading up. I'm sure there was going to be an investigation through the whole situation of, you know, what happened. But, you know, we were there. We did our best to get them out of the deep water to a safe place and then let the proper authorities do their job.
All right. So that's the perfect story and segue, Scott, to you mentioned, you sent us the one link with the 3 people that died in that one crash. We've seen that. We've had way too many of these lately. And I'm going to open it with the main question: has the need for speed gone too far? And I think there's some interesting angles we can take on this.
I feel like it has. I mean, I see it all the time. The redfish tournaments, when they take off, it's like playing Frogger trying to get across the intercoastal at times. I mean, they're typically going to leave out of, when they're in Port O'Connor, they're leaving out of the sanctuary, and it is an absolute boat race down the intercoastal. And it's just a matter of time before somebody gets hurt in one of those deals. I mean, I see guys flying by, jumping wakes, you know, it just has that, nothing's happened yet, but it sure has that feeling like something could happen at any time. All it takes is, you know, grandpa with his grandson puttering out there in their little John boat, cutting across the intercoastal at the wrong time. And it's hard to judge that speed on the water when those I mean, there's a couple of those boats pushing 100 miles an hour. A couple of them are going over 100 now that I've seen. And it's hard to judge that kind of speed coming at you on the water.
You're not expecting it.
Yes, you're not expecting it.
It's like where I live, the T intersection by my house is a 45 mile an hour zone. So if there's a car 100 yards away, I can pull out and be fine. But every once in a while, when one's blowing that zone at 70, you better notice it, or you're not going to do. You're not going to do okay. Right.
Caleb,
And
I
even
want-
at
go ahead.
60 miles an hour on the water. One thing that I was thinking about on that boat, the bass boat that hit the other boat, I've rode in bass boats like that, and you're low, you're sitting down in the boat, like on the floor behind the console. You're very limited visibility. Driving my boat on a raised platform, standing up, you have amazing visibility being up high. So sitting down low in those boats that are designed to go 65, 70 plus miles an hour, which is almost the norm nowadays whenever you have a really fast boat with 300 or 400 horsepower engine tricked out to go fast, you can't see what's in front of you. When you're down on the floor with your head tucked in and that kind of wind, you can't see the horizon that well, which I'm sure that had something to do with why he crashed into those 3 people.
Well, they ride a little bit nose high too, don't they?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
sitting down in them and the nose is up a little bit. It's like driving an offshore boat. It is terrifying to me to run down the intercoastal in one of those big ones.
Yeah.
It's hard to see right in front of you.
All right.
Yeah,
So there,
it's just compared to a raised platform bay boat and sitting down in the floor of
Yeah.
that type of boat going that fast, you can't see what's in front of you. And then you add that kind of speed and your reaction time is, half a second. And on the water, I mean, thing ain't got no brakes.
all right. So that go ahead, Caleb.
I'm not trying to talk trash on fast boats. Like Dean said, to me the bass boats are a bit more tricky than like the Simmons and stuff like that. I love Simmons boats. I've used them. They've served me very well. But I do think the day is coming where some sort of governor speed limit type deal will end up happening on the water. That it takes what it takes is the right kid to get killed. The right
Well, and
cat,
immediately
you know what
the MLF officials were part of their statement was that maybe it's time to start looking at speed limitations on those type of tournaments.
Yeah, and then you both read my mind, Scott. There are 2 things I wanted to get into. That I think it makes it really interesting. Sure way to drop differing opinions. Let's start with you with your background, of course, on the law enforcement part here. There is no speed limit on the water in most states and on the Gulf Coast that listen to us. I believe there's one, I can't remember which one it is, but there is no speed limit. However, old Brock Horner was cited for something that you can be cited for in Texas, and some people might not know that: operating at a high speed too close to others and leaving a dangerous wake speeding through a congested area. That is on the books in Texas. I looked it up to double check, but there is no quote speed limit. Now, one thing that is going to get people, taking sides is a speed limit. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're responsible for your wake, and you're responsible for operating your boat in a safe manner, given the conditions. I mean, that's where it's not a hard and fast. These conditions are illegal to run this speed. You're running at an unsafe speed. It's just like when you get into a wreck, you can be cited for failure to control speed, even though you were going the speed limit. You were going the speed limit, but it was pouring down rain. You couldn't see, and you got in a wreck. The charge is called failure to control speed. And I would imagine it's somewhat the same on boats. I haven't ever looked into it, but it would make sense that would be how they would word it.
But no speed limit per se. Just keep it kind of as is.
No.
Is what you're thinking.
I don't see how you can do a speed limit. I mean, we have speed limits on the freeway. You live in Houston. How well is that working out?
Yeah, doesn't work out. Doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But Dean, you just texted something to the group here on the live stream. The term is prudent. I mean,
That is the
dangerous term.
That is the term that will be used in the case of an accident. No matter how fast you were going, was it prudent for the situation? Were you, what did Scott just say? What was the
Failure to control speed?
Failure to control your speed. So yes, you're going too fast to be able to maneuver, avoid an accident, and so you were operating outside of that safety zone, and Yeah, I mean that's
And honestly, the law enforcement side of it, that's the least of your worries
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to get sued and
Yeah.
they're going to win. I mean, you go smacking into somebody while you're hauling ass in a boat, you're going to get sued. You're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to get sued by the people who are in your own boat
Mm-hmm.
if they get injured. So think about that part of it. You can lose your ass, lose everything. You
Well,
got.
and catch a manslaughter charge if they get the failure to control speed, negligent homicide, all kinds of stuff.
Well, Caleb, I wanted to ask you about the tournament aspect of this. I mean, we've all done tournaments, you guys more than me, but I did a relatively big tournament with Pat several years ago, and it was an all at once release.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you, we were going down the ditch, well, as I call it, the intercoastal in East Matagorda, and it was, I mean,
It's
wild
I
to
hate
say the
shotgun
least.
starts. It's wild.
Yeah. So what do you do with tournaments? Because here's the other thing, and maybe this is a whole different part of this question. I mean, the role and the evolution of skinnier and faster boats. While we've had these no speed limits and everybody's wants to go as fast, the boats are just super machines now.
Yeah, no, and I've definitely been, admittedly, profusely been part of the problem.
Mhm.
I mean, shotgun starts, those are terrible. I couldn't imagine being somebody in the intercoastal coming the other way on a shotgun start. That's why most of the bigger tournaments that are loaded down with the fast boats, they don't do it. They do a controlled launch where everybody's spaced out like
Mhm.
30 seconds in between each other. But those fast boats catch up with the not so fast boats, and you end up beside each other at some point. Shotgun starts are crazy. And I've got a lot of butt time in a fast boat driving it. I've shot gaps that were 20 feet wide between boats moving through wakes, and I'm pretty good at it. But I could have screwed up at any second. I mean, there's so much happening and so much going on, and on top of all of it, whenever I shoot a gap between two boats to pass both of them and get through, now my wake hit both of them. Now at 85, you don't have a hell of a lot of a wake. But what if I throw a blade while I'm passing them? What if my power steering, the Mercuries have what's called assisted steering, and that's scary as heck. Where if
Mhm.
it thinks that you're trying to turn right, it just turns you right. And it takes a long time to catch them. There's so much crap that can go on. And that's where I'm thinking, again, I'm going back to my jurisprudence degree that I have and all of my legal training and everything. But that's where I'm thinking that if they want to get serious about it, instead of saying that this intercoastal is a 55-mile intercoastal, they put it on the boat manufacturers to limit speed. And then there'll be some guys that prop up, and if their boat's limited at 60 or whatever, they can get 65 by propping up. And there'll be guys that put tunes on their motors and stuff like that. But just like they put it on the manufacturers for the safety lights being in the right place and all that sort
But
of stuff.
look, that just, it doesn't make any sense. You can buy a Corvette that goes 180 miles an hour, and you can still drive it on the streets of Houston. You can still drive it. It doesn't mean that you're going to go 100 to the potential of its speed. You have to do what is safe for that situation. So, I mean, there's race cars, there's street cars, there's badass cars that just haul ass that drive amongst us,
Mhm.
but you have to control, you have to wield that power with, a certain amount of safety.
Some of us don't have that much discipline, Dean.
Well, you're going to find yourself in front of a judge one day,
Uh,
and that's going to be, we're going to have an empty square on this podcast.
This is a very cool thing I want to mention. We talked about it last year, and it is back this year, and that's the Indianola Fishing Marina in-water boat show. It's May 30th through June 1st, and looks like there's going to be 16 different models in the water for test rides. That's one thing we always talk about here on the podcast, is you want to give that boat a ride. Admission's free for kids 16 and under, veterans, and all first responders. Everyone else, just $10. Among the dealers that are going to be there, of course, Chet and Freedom Boats. You can ask about the Bite Me Edition Freedom Warrior. El Pescador is going to be there. Desperado, Flats Cat, Dargle, Deck Cat, and Beck and David Boat Works are going to be there as well. And if you fish the Texas Bays, you don't want to miss the show. That's the Indianola Fishing Marina in-water boat show, May 30th to June 1st. Well, let me ask you all this. This was, and I know some tournaments do this pretty religiously, but big time redfish tournaments, especially, Caleb, I'll start with you because you're most recently in this, but I want to hear from Dean and Scott as well. You mentioned staggering starts. What about actual boundaries, man? I mean, how many times are you fishing in Sabine and you end up in East Matagorda, and that makes you want to go faster and maybe a little more, I guess, dangerous?
Oh, that I don't think boundaries mean a thing. Boundaries maybe might sell less go fast boats, but I doubt it, because if there's a launch, if the tournament's in Matagorda Harbor and the boundaries is East Matagorda Bay only, you still want to get to Canes Cove first.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think. I think all boundaries do is take some advantage away from the guys that have the boat that'll do it. It doesn't make the boat less appealing to get to somewhere that's 2 miles away before everybody else does. I'm man, I could be wrong. It's been years since I fished the freeze out, but I'm quite sure that tournament has boundaries, and the top 3 teams almost every year are guys that are running Simmons and can get to one of 3 spots the fastest. Boundaries just take advantages away from the guy that owns it. They don't limit the way you're going to drive it.
I mean, I kind of enjoyed it when I was doing the Redfish Cup, because I was running a pole and skip with a 60 horse motor, and I wasn't going that far and I wasn't going that fast. So without boundaries, all them other guys left the area and they ran past thousands and thousands of fish. And I just put it along there, got to my spot and caught my fish. You don't have to leave the county in order to go find fish. If you know what you're doing, and you can go find some fish.
But a big part of that game is marketing and sales. They're promoting those boats. That sells boats.
Yep.
It just is part of what it is. Fishing is a multi-billion-dollar industry in this country. They sell boats, they sell fishing poles. Every one of those boats are decorated with their decals. It just is part of the marketing scheme, and that will sell boats.
Go ahead, Dean.
Well, I mean, and when Scott comes in with his fish and gets his picture taken, he sold a pole and skiff.
Yeah, he did.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at that from different perspectives.
Okay, so Scott said something, Dean, I want to get your thoughts on. Well, anybody, just jump on in, but I'll start with you. He said the people who know what they're doing. And that leads to a whole different thing, because a lot of these accidents, as we just illustrated, one was a professional or in a big time tournament. One was just some pleasure, pleasure, whatever, jet skis. The people who don't know what they're doing are probably more prone to be, hey, I want to go fast. You know what I mean? And not knowing what they're doing. And that, I mean, what can you do with that?
They see that behavior and they duplicate it. It's monkey see, monkey do. They did it. Looks like fun. And then they do it without the skills. But I mean, look at what happened to the dude with skills. Killed 3 people. So
that's kind of self-regulating though, because I've been fast in a boat faster than I wanted to go. And it's freaking terrifying to me.
It's terrifying. I mean, that's
you start feeling the boat doing things that it
when you're on the brink. Yeah.
And for the average person, I know a guy really well who has a super fast go fast boat, and he don't go all that fast in it. He definitely doesn't push it to its limits. He's got a Corvette that he drives 75, 80 miles an hour.
You want me to come over?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll come driving a minute. I mean, again, to be fair, I'm not trying to disparage anything. Those Simmons, when you're going 85, it feels like you're going 45. It's locked in, it's smooth, you can still control it. A Lake and Bay, however, holy crap, if something pulled out in front of me 200 yards in front of me in a Lake and Bay, I'm terrified, because that sucker is chine walking where I'm fighting everything I can to keep it in the water. A Simmons ain't the only boat that goes fast. You got Fat Cat, Lake and Bay, all kinds of them, and they're not all created equal. But yeah, I just don't want to give off the impression that we're saying that fast boats are stupid. We're just saying that
Hey,
So
we
you
all go
pose
fast.
risk.
Maybe, I mean, I don't
It
go as
poses risk.
fast as you guys, but we all like to get to places at some point.
I mean,
It's just-
what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe don't blast through the intercoastal at POC in it,
Mhm.
because I've done it and it's scary.
Yeah, that's where I think there's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
Is, like everybody coming out of POC. I mean, that place is crowded as hell on weekends, and those tournament boats are flying down through there, and they don't slow down, and they come right across. And the biggest problem is all the launches in Port O'Connor are directly into the intercoastal. So you
Yeah.
got guys backing off their trailer and backing up out into the water and then circling around waiting for their buddy to park the truck.
Mhm.
And they're all sitting in the intercoastal. I mean,
And then they putt across the intercoastal to go into Fisherman's Cut or whatever. You
The
know,
other-
And see, and then it's the responsibility of those people coming down the intercoastal that should realize that you're coming up on a high traffic area. Look, man, we have the Aransas Channel that goes out to the jetties from Con Brown Harbor, Cove Harbor, and the navigational district where we launch. 3 of the busiest boat ramps on any Saturday in Texas. I would put it against anybody, the amount of boats that come out of there. And there is a kayak park on that thing. There is bait houses. There are numerous channels that tee off of that. And it is a huge potential for disaster. Plus, you have work boats. You have, crew boats that are going through there that are throwing a crazy big wake.
Mhm.
And you have to understand that you're coming up on an area that has potential for disaster. You have to slow down. If people are coming down that channel in Port O'Connor and fishermen, I mean, it's right there with one of the busiest in Texas.
Mhm.
And they have to be aware. And to go through that crowd at 50 plus miles an hour is totally reckless. And yeah, I mean, it's the day's going to come whenever
The one that drives me nuts is, or worries me, is kayakers. You guys all touch all 3 of us, all 3 of you have kayak launches that go directly into the intercoastal, and there are guys that are just barreling through there, and obviously so many kayakers now all over. That to me is the thing that would worry me the most.
It's the low light launches too. And I want to be clear, I'm not rolling 85 through POC, but I'm going faster than I'm comfortable doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the low light launches too. That was the one thing that I really liked about the Redfish series, is we didn't even start getting ready to play the national anthem and get released and all that until the sun was up. I think there was one tournament that they launched us where like you could kind of see the poles and stuff, and the director, we all chewed him out that evening. Like none of us wanted to do it. Like we were well in an hour or more into daylight when we launched. But there's a lot of tournaments, particularly like trout tournaments. They're gonna let you go like right at daylight, where it's kind of like gray a little bit, and that man, that's scary. And add some fog into it, or a light rain or something into it.
Yeah,
and it's scary, man.
The one kayaker that was we had a fatality in the Aransas Channel right there at Lighthouse Lakes. It was before daylight. It was on a Memorial Day weekend. It was very, very windy, where the wind's blowing straight down the channel. It was rough. The kayak that was crossing the channel did not have a light on it. The kayaker did not have a life jacket on his kayak.
Oh, Lord.
So the boat that hit him was a Coast Guard licensed fishing guide captain. And that you put it, that's numerous things went wrong that morning and somebody ended up dead. But the low light conditions, I mean, it adds a whole nother level of danger to the situation.
Yeah. All right, couple of announcements here, and then we'll do one more topic. I want to get to another one that was that I like. Mike Jones here on the live YouTube stream says, John, when is the big announcement? If not next week, probably next week. It'll be the week after, and we'll give you some details on the feeding frenzy upcoming, probably early fall. Another announcement, just kind of bragging about one of our own here, one of our listeners, Broken Coast. I just want to say this is monumental, man. We all love that. Finally caught a 10-pound trout on Sunday. How about that?
Ooh.
So I want to give Broken Coast Outdoors his due there.
Where?
And then there's what's that?
Where?
Matagorda.
In
South
Matagorda.
Shore, South Shoreline of Matagorda.
10-pound
but
trout.
where?
Where on the South Shoreline? You have the numbers.
Man, a 10 pounder in Matagorda is freaking solid.
That is a
Attaboy.
solid
That's
fish.
yes.
That's
Heck
a
yeah, that's
solid
awesome.
fish. And I don't mind you guys if you do hit those marks, those personal bests and such, and you're with us. Hit us up. We'll definitely give you a shout out.
My question is, did he take advantage of the water that we got back that we were all hoping for?
There you go. Coming full circle.
Yeah.
Coming full circle. Coordinates, please, Sherman says. I don't think you're going to get the coordinates. And then we got a text from Collins. Scott, I wanted to share this because this is pretty cool for our listeners. I'll just read I'll text directly. Sawgrass Rods, Collins Illich. He even wants you to call his personal cell number. How about that? They're going to have a Father's Day special. Rods are going to have blue or pink thread wraps with a message from the kiddos or wife or dad's name or whatever you want. No extra charge. So if you guys know anyone, ladies listening, or you can get it for her if you want. Mother's Day is next. It'll be $100 off the retail, but they have to call or text Collins. I'll give you that number right now twice, so you can write it down as you're listening. You can maybe back up this podcast if you're listening on the recording. 469-233-2356. 469-233-2356. And I've got 4 Sawgrass rods sitting right in front of me that I'm taking down this week. They're fantastic. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that before we get to the next topic here, Scott.
Nah, I mean, Collins, they're a custom built rod right there in Dallas, and they're doing a really good job putting them together. I'm going up there June 4th, 5th for Anglers Night Out. They do in the shop. They invite all the local anglers to come into the shop and hang out and have a few beers and BS about fishing. So it's kind of a cool little get together. I'm gonna make it up there for that. Pick up some new rides.
Yeah, it's a heck of a deal. All right, so let's do this before we get to what was Scott doing, Caleb and Dean. I was looking at the weather this week, and it's not horrible as you predicted last week, but it ain't great. All right, so this is a great question. Common denominators, and maybe it's from someone we know, Caleb, I don't know. But anyway, common denominators for finding fish near shorelines versus finding them in the open bay. I'm going to read the whole question. And Caleb, I'll start with you. Is there a rule of thumb? Because we always talk about this, shorelines, open bay. Is there a rule of thumb when fish are more likely to be near shorelines versus the open bay in terms of like wind, early morning, evening, etc.?
Almost feel guilty to get to take this in front of Scott and Dean because I'm going to do the low hanging fruit. Concentrations of bait, baby.
Well, that's fair, and we talk about that all the time. But I think he's talking about like when the wind is a certain way versus the the temperatures, time of day, etc. Is there a rule of thumb, or how do you play that?
Man, water temperature maybe. It's a time of the year question, right? Yeah, if the flats are warming up or cooling off versus what the middle is, that most of the time you can catch them on both. Now, wind wise, I'm not going to go off in this rabbit hole, but yesterday I started on the protected side and I went all the way across to the windy side, and the windy side had the fish on it, but they could have been on the protected side. That's why I started there and checked it out. But the windy side was what was stacked up. So, I mean, shoot, for a common denominator, that's tough. Scott and Dean might have a better answer, but I would say, pleasant water temperatures to a fish. I'm having a hell of a time focusing right now.
It's all right. We got you. We're almost done. Take those heavy drugs any minute now. Scott, I've told you this in the past. I don't know. I just enjoy fishing in the evening on shorelines. I just feel like it's just comfortable for me. A lot of times, depending on wind and water level, etc. But still, does mornings and evenings, I would tend to lean shorelines, but I don't know what you're thinking.
And Shorelines are where it's at for me anyway. I mean,
Mhm.
Dean likes the big open flats, but I like shorelines, and you're gonna have to find the bait. If there's no bait there ain't no fish there.
Mhm.
So yeah, just gotta work with what you see.
Yeah.
And that varies from day to day. Yeah, it depends on how hard the wind's blowing, how high the water is, how there's so many different. It's a feel thing, honestly.
Mhm.
When you get out there, you just get a feel for what's going on. And if you're lucky enough to fish day in and day out, then you got a head start.
And
And
sometimes there's
go ahead.
bait there that isn't easy to see. That's
Mhm.
another one. As I
That's-
was listening to Scott, it's like, well, are the conditions favorable to see into the water where you can see if there are bait? If the bait isn't on the surface, if they're not pushing wakes, if it's not jumping, that's another one where you just gotta put a little time into that search before you give up on that shoreline. But yeah, I mean that's
I was
a tough
interested in
question.
your thought. I was interested in your thought on this particularly, Dean, because you can do both where we are.
Yes. I mean, I will spend more time in the open flats because of the seagrass that's on the bottom. The shorelines are great. They're not as important as other areas that don't have really lush seagrass, that don't have a lot of structure, because the bait has security against the shoreline. The
Mhm.
bait, if the bait moves away from the shoreline, it's somebody's dinner real quick. So they tend to congregate there. And then the predators are going to be there as well. But yeah, that's, the conditions have to be right to see what's under there.
I say almost all of my grass is along shorelines.
Yeah.
Glad
Yeah,
y'all have some.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How is it, Caleb? Go ahead.
Within, I mean, I've got shorelines that have grass that extend out and make a flat, it's,
Mhm.
100, 200 feet wide, So, I mean, I do technically fish open water along those shorelines.
Mhm.
If you want to call being out, 100 yards off the shoreline, yeah, but I'm still kind of keying on the shoreline a little more.
My grass is the shoreline. The only time I have
It's
grass
on
in
it's
my water is
dry.
when the tide's
It's
2 feet
dry.
high. Yeah. No, the other day, I think is the little one-liners I have, a lot of them are off the cuff and some of them are prepared, and I'm waiting for the tide to go back out because I'm gonna say the water was so low out there that I had to clean my boat with a leaf blower.
But in those areas where the tide drops out of that grass, like Matagorda, then you have oysters, you have other structure. We don't have oyster reefs in Redfish Bay. I mean, there's a few sporadic ones, but not like the secondary structure when the tide drops out and those bait fish get pulled out of there. Then they're looking for the next place to hide, which
Yeah.
is going to be a sandbar, a reef. And Caleb's always got stuff to say about that.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is you have clean water and fiberglass in the bottom of your boat. Was that the make me feel better thing you were going for?
All right.
You do know why your neck hurts, right? You shouldn't be throwing them damn popping corks.
Oh,
Dude,
wow.
See, that's what happens to you when you throw a popping cork all day.
man,
Now you're in pain. You're paying for it.
I want to know how it took 3 hours to do a popping cork instructional.
This is true. This is true.
well, Dean, if you must ask, the fish weren't eating real good yesterday, but the rat reds always eat. So I had to comb through about 10 rat reds to get the one good one. But then we put all I mean, I keep it real, dogs. The little ones are on the video, but
What happened? Something happened to your fishing partner on that.
oh man, I tell you what, if you're not subscribed to Angler U, and if there's one instance to be subscribed, Mike, his cork went down. And he set the hook and he is bringing it in, and he had like a 4-inch hard head on there. We were throwing little gulps under popping cork, and I turn and Jimmy, the cameraman, standing on this podium behind us, and Mike's pulling it up, and I'm steadily talking trash to him. And I whip around to my right, to talk trash, because I think at that point I caught like 4 redfish, and Mike was he was the hard head guy yesterday. And I whoop around to talk trash to the camera. And as I whoop around, I got my rod under my arm, so my rod swings with me. And when I whooped around, talk trash to the camera, I set the hook on a redfish. And I got to tell you, I think Mike said, y'all want to see somebody get kicked in the water, because I used it to its fullest. Poor guy.
Oh my goodness. All right. What would Scott do? What would Caleb do? What would Dean do? It's still windy. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna be out there. I'm taking Thursday and Friday off and heading down there. Not horrible, but not great.
Hey, it's coming back. It's coming back to favorable. Here's the reason you can't trust the forecast this week. We have
just this week.
Just this week.
Yeah.
This week specifically.
See, this is why people make posts on Facebooks and use the words what they said, Dean.
There's a lot of questionable potential for rain this week. So there's a lot of you can't trust the long-term forecast 4 or 5 days out right now. Anything can change. I believe, my personal opinion, maybe used against me in the future, but I'm going to go with it. I got a feeling that the wind is going to be coming way back in our favor for the next 3 or 4 or 5 days over the weekend. Even if you get drizzled on, if you get a little bit of rain, that is going to be good, because it doesn't blow 20 plus mile an hour and rain at the same time. That's a tropical storm.
It was supposed to be really windy yesterday. That was the forecast, and they added 10 miles an hour to that. So I will agree that they weren't completely accurate.
Just the wrong way.
You know, again, I'm going to go back on my ecologicals of science degree. And
God, you got a lot of degrees.
Man, you wouldn't believe. And somebody was telling me down there where Dean's at, you got the Wild Horse Desert along the Rio Grande over there, West South Texas.
See,
and if it's hot, it's windy. If it's cool, the wind lays down. So I think Dean's onto something there, that if it's raining and cooling stuff off, maybe the wind will take a break. I'm showing like 15 miles an hour out of the east in Matagorda.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say whether that tears up any. I mean, the middle is going to be sloshed up and tore up from the south winds that are coming, but that south half of the bay shouldn't be as bad. It should be a bit greener.
Yeah.
And then it's going to turn and come out of the east and not be as bad. So I think you might be able to drift or wade or go to West Bay. That's my fishing report.
Scott?
I got some pretty good reports this week but I can't tell where, and I can't do all that because he'll kill me. But and he won't ever give me another report.
No coordinates.
But, yeah.
Why are we bringing it up?
But there were good trout along the shorelines.
Is he a little short dude that we might know?
No.
We have found the mole.
Scott's telling on all of us.
Yeah, boy. Hey, I can confirm that there's 7,000 13-inch redfish in Back Lakes right now.
Yeah.
There were some big mud bowls there. They did the good ones just weren't eaten whenever I was there. Yes. My theory on that is I really like an outgoing tide for those lakes, and it's blowing so damn hard I don't think the tide could go out.
Yeah. It was all about wade fishing. It was so windy, and he was able to plant his feet and keep control of his lures.
Mm-hmm.
And worked out for him pretty well. Just like what we talked about last week, when it's super windy like that, if you got big open flats like Dean does, get the chute and put a couple or 3 or 4 of them out, however many it needs to slow down so you're not running over your cast. But if you don't have that opportunity, you got these little skinny little strips of grass along the shorelines, or you don't have grass like Caleb, plant your feet. It'll keep you from moving so much, and you can work your lure a lot better.
Yeah.
Only grass I got's in a Ziploc.
In that smell-proof pouch. I went and got some CBD. I don't get the CBD that makes you messed up, but I do take CBD every day.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl goes, "Would you like it in a smell-proof pouch?" I said, "What kind of CBD is this?" I don't need any of that stuff. Although I did take it so I could give it to one of my sons.
In the 90s, we thought an ibuprofen bottle was smell-proof. Turns out it is not.
All right, this is one of the good ones, man. You guys are kicking ass. Don't forget, Shootout is out there for you, right, Dean?
Yes, sir.
Shootout is out there. You can hit him up, or where else?
Hit me up.
Hit you up. And
No,
you
you
get
can
on-
message me, and I mean, you can search it out and find it. It's actually popping up on Google searches now, so it's been out there a while. And
Mhm.
as it gets more exposure, as you Google it, it will pop up. So had that happened pretty quick. And but anybody that can message me, I'll send you the link to the Shopify website. We are going to be at the Babes on the Bay. We're going to get us a little booth set up, and we're going to do
Nice.
we're going to do the show thing there.
Okay, and then Caleb, of course, as soon as his neck gets better, I'm sure he's out there doing content, and you may want to hit him up if he's got any dates. And Scott, we're getting close.
I'll have dates, and I think some of them might be in North Padre. I'm going to start if I can
You
get
need
three.
to,
If I can get
you
3
need to
days
do
in a row.
a bottom fishing with some cut mullet instructional with a lot less casting.
Yesterday I told Jimmy, my camera guy, I was like, I had a shrimp put on this sumbitch, and I thought I'd catch a redfish over 13 inches. We just cut that part, and I'd send it out there. But unfortunately, I did not have
Yeah.
the shrimp.
Angler you tonight as well.
Yes, we have Captain Trevor Cuccio on. He was a bit of a riot last time. This time should probably be a little more docile. You never know with Trevor, but Trevor is a amazing fisherman. He's the only person I've ever known that sight casted a gag grouper. Very cool dude. I plan to be there to host it, but if you've seen my Tourette's going on right now, I'm having a hard time controlling the nerves in my upper body. So Larry may be taking it over. I don't know, but either way, Trevor is going to be great.
And Scott, you're getting close, man. Just the winds go down. I know you're going to go out.
Yep, I've got a few open days coming up here, like the 9th, the 10th are open, and 23rd, 24th, 25th. Of course, that's Memorial Day weekend. If you really want to go out there, pound it on Memorial Day weekend. I'm not real keen on doing that, but I've got the 27th open as well. So got a few days open in May.
Yeah. And
so
go ahead.
this weekend and next week, I'm back to officially working.
How about that? And some people are already on the live stream here, on the live comments, saying, "Hey, I got to book Dean. I got to book Dean." So you might be getting some calls here real soon. And hey, just so you guys know, I got a ticket. I got a ticket to the Flatsworthy event. See there, y'all were giving me a hard time about not having the ticket, and you guys having the hookup. Take that, boys. All right. The last thing this show was
I thought you got a
docile.
ticket for an inoperable fuel gauge or something. On the
Well,
safety
that's
check.
coming. That's
I
coming.
thought
I'll
it
let
was
you.
going to be for operating a boat at an unsafe speed.
Well, that won't happen, but we'll see. So I'll let you know next week on how the gas gauge is working on my new boat. And beyond that,
And for
what's that?
anybody else that wants to join me and Dean and John at Flatsworthy, they have an event that's very similar. You ever been to a CCA event or a Ducks Unlimited event? It's very similar to that, and it's a fundraiser. Got all kind of raffles for Dean, and they got auctions for John. So
Remember
Yeah.
what happened last time I went to a CCA event, Scott?
yeah,
I almost bought a $3,500 fishing trip to somewhere I'd never heard of.
yeah, you did.
And at the end of the night, there was 4 people left. All the organizers had already left. This is allegedly, and they were cleaning around me while I'm still sitting there talking.
Hey, man, if you go there with a twitchy neck, you might get up with
You're gonna be bidding on everything,
Dude, I didn't even know we were bidding on anything. And Mike Butler looked at me and said, "You realize you're winning this now, right?" I was like, "What?"
All right, boys. Lively show. Not docile by any stretch, but a lot of fun. And we'll get you the Feeding Frenzy info officially, if not next week, then the week after. Until then, you guys have a fantastic time. Great weekend. Maybe even some great fishing. It looks like it's going to be a lot better. Catch them up. We'll talk to you next time.
If they are still listening to the show, they can kiss my ass, and they are encouraged to try me.